The Sevens rugby ground as we look ahead to the next game between Australia and the United States. Australia again disappointing yesterday not to reach the Cup quarterfinals. They have a healthy and a commanding track record against the United States. As we look at the teams here, Australia led by Ed Jenkins, player of the tournament on the Gold Coast last month. Sean McMahon is the youngest ever Sevens rep for Australia. Con Foley, well, he's led the team on a number of occasions. Nick Maloof, fleet-footed centre, Luke Morahan, a full wallaby. And the United States, well, they've got some key players as well. Brett Thompson plays confident rugby. Stephen Thomason, the newcomer, is squat but solid, and the pacey Nick Edwards keeps out the poster boy of American Sevens rugby, Carlin Isles. So Michael O'Connor, the Australian coach, saying that Australia weren't good enough on the first day, and particularly so against Scotland. They played better against Wales, but it was a turnover really that led to a Welsh try which clinched it for them. And the United States, while they're regrouping, and player coach Matt Hawkins, he's a rare animal in Sevens rugby. Gavin Cowley, a player coach, and harking back to the days of the great Waisalis Arevi for Fiji.
Well, I guess we've got to wait and see whether the playing side is going to be part of it going forward. He's been there, done it, of course, and I think they could well have done with him yesterday too. They must still be smarting from that defeat against Scotland yesterday, when perhaps they might have expected to have won it, but didn't. So they've been disappointing too. But the Australians in particular, I think, could well be up for it in this match.
Certainly will be. Australia runners-up on the Gold Coast last month to receive the kick-off from the US of A. It's a high towering kick, and it's a well-placed kick and claimed by the Americans. Quickly spread from Andrew Duratalo, changed back to the narrow side for Brett Thompson, a young man who plays confident rugby, looking for a first score, and just took that ball a little too far perhaps. And it's the attack snuffed out by Australia early on. Paul Asquith pulled in for the Tokyo event towards the end of last season, and has kept the shirt, impressed coach Michael O'Connor.
Advantage, knock on.
Some half a dozen of these Australian players have been recently contracted for the next 2 years with a view to Olympic selection. Hint of a high tackle there.
Backwards play on
Nick Edwards. The advantage is there for the US of A, as Stephen Thomason has a go, but straight down the middle goes Zach Test, a former American footballer. Zach Test, wide receiver for the Oregon Ducks. He received the ball out wide, but cut back in on the angle for a wonderful score to open USA's account in this match.
Well, this all came about from a turnover. Australia were fumbling a little bit in their own 22, and with that turnover there was an opportunity there for Test. The key thing there was he stepped so well off his left foot and found his space, and of course he's also got the pace that's such a vital ingredient of Sevens rugby.
So the conversion, a simple affair from in front to the post for Folaunuia. The prolific try scorer for the United States, Zach Test, adds to his very impressive tally in his 38th event. And perhaps the only surprising thing that is his first try of the weekend in the US of A, but that reflects the fortunes, I think, of the Americans in this tournament in Dubai this year. But they're in the hunt, and they're looking good on the Australian 10-metre line. That's Nuya digging it out for Zach Mizell, the newcomer, an all-American collegiate representative from the Arkansas State University. Nuya has far greater experience. Tongan-born.
Okay.
Oh, the gap offers itself to Nick Edwards, and people ask, well, why don't we see more of Carlin Isles? Well, there's the reason for you. Nick Edwards is keeping him out of the starting lineup. As exciting a player as Carlin Isles is still learning the game, but Nick Edwards certainly has taken on the challenge of the Carlin Isles. Andrew Duratalo probably the heaviest player in Dubai this weekend. At 113 kilograms. Zach Mizzle, resident at the Olympic Centre in Chula Vista. Neat, lovely little chip through. And I've praised this man to the stars, Zach Test, and player of his experience should really have taken the opportunity there.
That was a wonderful little grabber. This shows the value of a good kick pass again. And, well, the bounce didn't really favour him. And disappointing. He'll look back on that and say, well, you know, I have the skills to have been able to really get that. But all-time record, there we have it, 79, and well ahead of Matt Hawkins.
Bind, set.
So Australia still camped in their own 22, behind their own try line, looking to launch an attack. This is a high-risk rugby from the green and gold, but it could pay off here for Luke Morahan. Looks for support and gets it. Now then, Tom Lucas, one of three brothers who played sevens for Australia, captain Ed Jenkins. The ball had been called for by Con Foley, and this will be the response from Australia. And Sean McMahon with a heavily strapped right elbow there.
Well, the Aussies show that they've got enough petrol in the tank. They've just got to push the pedal, and eventually the opportunity came. That swept across the length of the field. And Sean McMahon, who's been one of their better players in this tournament too. He's a big fella. He's done a lot of hard yards, worked really well. Some good efforts there from Ed Jenkins initially to open up the space. And there's
Sean
one of the workhorses in the team, McMahon, with a try.
My apologies, Gavin. Yeah, McMahon, the youngest ever sevens representative for Australia at 17 years of age, and just turned 19. Exciting prospect, certainly. So Paul Asquith prepares to restart and drop this ball on the 10-metre line. There's a water bottle carrier on, but he's just on to escort one of the American players off the field.
Yep.
So we'll just wait for the replacement to come on, and he's Pat Blair, wearing 8. Made his debut on the Gold Coast last month for the States. So Asquith. Zach Test trying his level best to keep the ball in play, but poor execution there of the kick at the restart.
Yeah, you could take gold, okay? Keep that space, keep that space. Where you were before.
Yeah, poor defence against the kick. The kick itself was absolutely perfect, wasn't it? Landing infield.
Thank you.
And gets Australia into the US half of the field, which I think is vital for them in terms of their attack.
Well, exactly what you said there, Gavin. They've stolen the US ball at the line-out. They caught them at 6s and 7s. Good work again by Sean McMahon. And as you rightly pointed out, Gavin, he has certainly been one of the standout performers in what has been a disappointing tournament so far for Australia. It's a yellow card coming here for Folau Nuya.
7 whites off his feet. Marcus here.
That's a huge blow in a position like this.
It certainly is. Luke Morahan, here he is. The long float out pass to Con Foley. That's a simple try, a second try for Australia. Having soaked up the early pressure, they now are in the lead, and with the better part of 2 minutes with a man advantage, you would fancy them to extend their lead before the break.
It's very hard to defend against a penalty in the middle of the field, especially if it's close to the post. If you execute properly and you play it, you've got 2 options of playing it. Well read there in particular by Luke Morahan. It's a lovely pass from him that opened up the space, and the conversion's good.
A lovely strike from Paul Asquith, and the USA being made to pay for that man's indiscretion at the breakdown, going off his feet, not supporting his body weight on his legs. It's a better restart. It's claimed again by Sean McMahon. These kickers, they get terrific height on the ball. Good chasing by Australia, but USA look to break back here. Blair, the replacement, can't quite gather. Now then, with Blair breaking up, there's a chance, a half chance for Tom Lucas. Setting up play midway between the Australian 10-metre line and 22 as the hooter goes. Still time though for another score. Ed Jenkins, the captain, taking on the USA defence. That's Nick Malouf taking it out wide into contact, just about pulled down inside the USA 10-metre line. There are men over here. If Australia can work it quickly out to the left, they have Luke Morahan. Little dink through. Was that a late tackle? Yes, it was.
Time off.
That could well bring another yellow card for the United States. So suddenly they're down to 5 men here, with Stephen Thomason on his way to the sin bin.
That's good refereeing by James Matthew from Scotland. He got it spot on there, and the players being punished.
Yeah, the pressure telling here on the USA defence. One more pass and they have the men out wide also. Jenkins inside to Confoley, and that's his second try just before the break then. And Australia making the numerical advantage count here. So let's have a look at that yellow card incident again.
Well, there's the pass out wide. There's the little grubber kick. There's the late tackle. And immediate reaction from James Matthew. And just the finishing touches here, I just wondered that, or was a bit worried that Australia might have butchered it, but eventually Confoley found the shortcut.
Yeah, it was pretty laboured, wasn't it? Passing out wide by Australia as we have a look at the conversion attempt, which is good. So Australia trailed by 7 at one stage, but at the break they lead by 21-7. Concentrate on the coaching aspects which he has taken upon himself recently, following the resignation of Alex Muggleby, a former player himself.
I'm not sure that player coach works in sevens, to be honest with you. When I think it's really important to focus your attentions on just one role that you might have. And you know, even if you say, well, I'm there in case of need, I think you've got to make a clear-cut decision.
Yeah, that's a good call, Gavin. So Australia get to restart, and the USA back to 6 men, but Stephen Thomason still in the sin bin. Nuya is back. It's a well-delivered, well-executed kick, but it's tapped down there by Zach Test.
See, Colin Niles is on the field now for the US. A change of direction from Matt Hawkins at the break. Nuya taken down 5 metres short of his own try line. Nick Edwards. So the USA have got the 2 speedsters, the 2 flyers on the field at the moment. That is Carly Niles. Well, that kick there, wind just coming about, because they are down to 6 men at the moment, and they just need to eat into those 2 minutes of the time until the man comes back onto the park. Yeah, 14 points to the difference, 2 converted tries. Thomason, the sin bin player. Passing isn't as crisp as the Australians would want it, but they've recovered there. Nick Malouf taking the ball into contact. Lucas can't quite gather, neither can Carly Niles, but the first offence was the unintentional knock-on, so Australia will get the put in. Yeah, interesting call, bringing that man on now. We haven't seen enough of him, and when we say that, it's because we just delight in seeing the pace of the man on the rugby field. Yeah, but pace is one thing, Gavin, isn't it? There are other aspects that players need to attend to, and perhaps it's Carly Niles' defensive work that hasn't been quite up to the mark, but he's certainly applying himself to that aspect. Yeah, I guess if you've got 6 men, it's useful having a really pacey guy that can chase back if needed. Australia have not managed to score some points yet in the second half. Malouf again, the number 1, doing well, taking the ball into contact and pressing and pushing the US away back. That's Holland, or simplest of tries. Straight down the middle. And Australia have extended the lead. It's that man, Sean McMahon, or Lewis Holland on this occasion, rather. That is Sean McMahon. Yep, it is too. And it's extremely difficult to defend. If you run correctly, it's very difficult to defend 6 against 7. And Lewis Holland, enough space for him. It was a 2-on-1 against Carly Niles, and he took the short route. Another 2 points, and Australia taking the game away from the United States, having led, as I said,
up by 7-0 at one stage, now trail by 3 converted tries and 28-7.
Their situation is compounded to the US by the fact that they've given away 9 balls, where really some of them in crucial situations, leading to those 4 tries.
But they're battling away here through Carlin Isles. Thomasin. That's Zach Test. They've lost some influential players of late, Colin Hawley in particular, and Luke Hume. Some injury concerns as well. Asquith
5 out.
takes the ball back to strength. Dug out there by Greg Jeludef. He's very much a jack in the box, and this is Jesse Parahi over in the corner for the 5th try for Australia. Made his debut in London in 2010, and Australia promptly won their first tournament for a very long time.
13th try then, as we saw, for Jesse Parahi. And good support again. This is important. You know, when you get into the second day, you were talking about fitness, Win, and the importance thereof. You know, that is very much an occupational hazard and something that would worry the coaches. It's a tough tournament. And if you can find that level of support on the second day in an attacking position, that's one of the reasons why the scoreline is 33-7 in favour of Australia.
And as a coach, you need to know your players as well. You need to recognise and spot when they are perhaps flagging a little, and you need to know when to make the substitution. And there's no one better at that probably than Sir Gordon Tietjens, the most successful coach of any Sevens team of all time.
So time off substitution.
Fitness
White.
is key.
3-2, please. 3-2.
It's a baptism of fire for the polar bear.
Time on.
So that statistic,
Come forward, lads.
the
Mark's
ball
here.
given away, is reflected on the scoreboard with 2 minutes or so remaining. Australia 33, USA 7.
It absolutely is, but coupled with, you know, 2 yellow cards, it's really just made it impossible for the US to have stayed in this game.
Yeah, they've not defeated Australia in 4 years of rugby sevens. And that record, not a proud one, is going to be extended here. Nick Malouf, the offloader to Greg Jeludef, just about manages to keep the ball in play. Australia regrouping. It's on its way. Malouf. Australia letting the ball do the work here. Stannard is Australia's top point scorer, was recalled to the squad towards the end of last season as Mike O'Connor faced some major injury concerns. Lovely step, but not fooling the USA that time. And building up for another score here for Australia, looking to round it off. Again, making heavy weather of it. It was Paul Asquith taking the ball back into contact on the angle. Then it's Jesse Parahi. Good tackling by Pat Blair, but the score seems to be inevitable here. A 6th try coming up, and it's claimed by Nick Malouf.
It's really awful defending there from the US. You know, with a lot of these players having played 15s fairly recently too, and your defensive patterns are quite different in 15s against 7, you know, where you might have a stronger press defense or a rush defense in 15s. You're not going to have that in 7, so some players may be struggling to adapt a little bit too, but the US have really got themselves very disorganized defensively.
So Australia take their lead out to 33 points, 40-7 the score, with under a half a minute remaining of this bowl quarter-final. Passes completed, 50 to the US of A's 26, and the Australians have made most of those passes tell, resulting in the scoreline, which we see in the top left-hand corner of your screens. It's not over yet. Asquith, relentless pressure being applied by Australia. Stannard into the US of A 22. Still time for another score. Foley out to Greg Želudev. He might go all the way himself. In at the corner then Greg Želudev, and that is the icing on the cake for Australia. It's a comprehensive win for them.
It's an absolute rout, but the Australians will be very happy with the scoreline on the one side, but I think with the way that they've played too, inflated somewhat by the poor effort of the US.
10 seconds.
Yeah, having got to the final of the Cup competition in the home tournament at the Gold Coast last month, they came here full of confidence, but were undone by a heroic display from the Scots in particular, and a rare lapse in concentration cost the game against Wales. So they find themselves consigned to the bowl competition, where they do progress to the bowl semi-finals on the back of a very competent display against the United States, and a full-time score which reads Australia 47, the United States 7.
Well, I'm with the Australia coach, Michael O'Connor. Michael, that was a lot better. You also started like a house on fire yesterday, though. What went wrong in between?
We didn't start so well yesterday against Scotland, and that was the problem. Yesterday we got beaten by Scotland, and we had to beat Wales in that last game, and we just weren't good enough yesterday, unfortunately. I couldn't believe the number of errors yesterday, but that was a lot better, yeah. The
first half was good against Scotland, though, and then the second half you tailed off. Is inconsistency the issue, and how do you put that right?
No, it's just individual errors, and in attack, not so much in defence, but in attack, and that was one of the really good areas of our game on the Gold Coast, so we had a bit of a chat about it. It was disappointing. Guys that don't normally make errors made errors. It was just one of those days. I can't explain it, really. It's very disappointing.
Well, you got Samoa next. Good luck with that.
Thank you, Todd.